the ancient curse of Germany's dark forests, when man becomes beast under the blood moon. Welcome to Tales Labyrinth, where we uncover the darkest secrets of history and reveal the ancient mysteries that have haunted humanity for centuries. Today, we venture into the primeval forests of ancient Germania, where beneath the canopy of towering oaks lies a curse so terrible it transforms man into beast under the blood moon's light. Support our channel as we explore this chilling tale of the werewolf's ancient origins, and follow this haunting story to its dramatic conclusion. First, the village under ancient shadows, deep within the ancient Germanic forests, where colossal oak trees formed a living cathedral of shadows, stood a small tribal settlement surrounded by wooden palisades. The villagers lived in circular timber huts with conical thatched roofs, their walls daubed with clay and animal hair for insulation. Men wore rough-spun wool tunics bound with leather belts, while women donned long linen dresses covered by woolen cloaks fastened with bronze brooches. These simple folk survived by hunting wild boar, gathering forest herbs, and tending small plots of barley and rye within their fortified compound. When the sun disappeared behind the forest canopy each evening, the settlement transformed into a fortress of fear and superstition. Heavy wooden gates, reinforced with iron bands, slammed shut, and watchtowers manned by nervous guards scanned the tree line for movement. Oil-soaked torches blazed from every corner, casting dancing shadows that seemed to move with malevolent purpose. Children huddled around central hearth fires, while elders recounted ancient tales of forest spirits and shape-shifting demons that prowled between the trees, hungry for human flesh and souls. The villagers spoke in hushed whispers of an ancient curse that plagued their bloodline for generations. They described a tribal warrior who once lived among them, a man of noble bearing with intricate blue tattoos covering his muscled arms and chest. This warrior wore bear pelts and carried weapons forged from meteoric iron, commanding respect from all who knew him. Yet beneath his heroic exterior lurked something far more sinister, a darkness that would consume not only his soul but threaten the very survival of his people. According to the shamans and wise women, this warrior had violated the sacred laws of the forest during a hunting expedition in the deepest wilderness. The spirits told of how he encountered a massive wolf, larger than any natural beast, with eyes that glowed like captured starlight. This creature was no ordinary predator but a guardian spirit of the ancient woods, blessed by the old gods and forbidden to mortals. When the warrior's spear pierced the sacred wolf's heart, he unknowingly sealed his own doom with blood and blasphemy. The curse manifested on the next full moon, when the warrior's human form began to shift and contort in ways that defied natural law. His bones cracked and reformed, muscles bulged beyond human proportions, and coarse black fur erupted from every pore. His noble features twisted into a lupine visage of pure predatory hunger, complete with elongated jaws filled with razor-sharp fangs. The transformation brought with it an insatiable bloodlust that consumed his human consciousness, leaving only a beast driven by primitive instincts to hunt, kill, and feed on the flesh of his former kinsmen. Second, the first transformation begins. On the night when the harvest moon reached its zenith, casting silver light through the forest canopy, the cursed warrior felt the first stirrings of his supernatural affliction. Searing pain coursed through his body like liquid fire, beginning in his bones and spreading outward until every nerve screamed in agony. His wife watched in horror as her husband's familiar features began to elongate and distort, his jaw pushing forward while his teeth grew into gleaming fangs. The comfortable furs and woolen garments that had clothed his human form ripped apart as his frame expanded beyond mortal dimensions. Thick black fur sprouted from his skin in waves, covering his body like a living shadow that seemed to absorb the moonlight itself. His hands transformed into clawed appendages capable of rending flesh from bone, while his spine curved and extended to accommodate his new lupin anatomy. The gentle blue eyes his wife had fallen in love with now blazed with golden fire, reflecting an alien intelligence that recognized no human bonds or emotions. His voice, once warm and reassuring, became a series of growls and snarls that spoke only of hunger and predatory intent. The fully transformed creature stood nearly 8 feet tall, its massive frame filling the small family dwelling with overwhelming presence. Every instinct screamed at the terrified woman to flee, but maternal concern for their sleeping infant kept her frozen in place. The werewolf's enhanced senses detected her fear scent immediately, triggering a hunting response that had been encoded into its very DNA by ancient magic. Its nostrils flared as it sampled the air, cataloging every human presence within the settlement and marking them all as potential prey for the night's bloody feast. For a brief moment, some fragment of the man's consciousness struggled against the beast's overwhelming hunger, creating an internal war between human love and lupin instinct. This battle manifested as violent tremors that shook the creature's entire frame, while it fought to maintain some vestige of control. The effort proved futile as primal urges overwhelmed civilized thought, leaving only the wolf's burning need to hunt beneath the blood-red moon. With a sound that was part howl and part roar, the creature burst through the dwelling's wooden walls and disappeared into the forest depths. The ancient woods welcomed their new apex predator with an almost supernatural silence, as if every nocturnal creature recognized the presence of something far more dangerous than any natural wolf. Deer, wild boar, and forest birds fled before the werewolf's approach, their survival instincts warning them that death stalked the moonlit paths. The creature moved with impossible speed and grace through the underbrush, its supernatural strength allowing it to leap over fallen trees and scale rock faces that would challenge even the most skilled human climber. Third, the hunt awakens in darkness. Dawn broke over the forest, with crimson light filtering through the canopy, revealing the aftermath of the werewolf's first nocturnal rampage. The creature had reverted to human form during the pre-dawn hours, leaving the warrior naked and blood-stained among the fallen leaves, his memory fragmented and unclear. Claw marks scarred nearby tree trunks at impossible heights, while patches of disturbed earth told the story of supernatural strength and predatory violence. The taste of copper filled his mouth, and beneath his fingernails he found evidence of the night's terrible feast. When he staggered back toward the settlement, the warrior discovered a scene of devastation that would haunt him for the remainder of his cursed existence. 3 villagers had ventured into the forest during the night hours, perhaps seeking herbs or checking trap lines, and none had returned alive. Their mangled remains were scattered throughout the woodland, bearing wounds that no natural predator could have inflicted. The tribal elders examined the evidence with growing horror, recognizing the signs of supernatural attack that their grandparents had described in whispered legends. The settlement's shamans performed ancient divination rituals, casting carved bone runes and reading omens in scattered grain patterns to understand the nature of the threat they faced. Smoke from burning sacred herbs filled their ritual lodge, while they chanted prayers to protective spirits and consulted scrolls written in the old runic script. Their conclusions brought no comfort to the terrified villagers. A werewolf walked among them. Someone they trusted and loved had become the vessel for an ancient curse that would continue claiming lives with each passing moon cycle. Suspicion fell upon every adult male in the settlement as families began to watch each other for signs of the supernatural taint. Fathers questioned sons, brothers eyed each other with mistrust, and the social fabric that held their community together began to unravel under the weight of paranoia. The cursed warrior found himself observing his neighbors with the same suspicion, desperately hoping to deflect attention from his own terrible secret, while struggling to understand the nature of his transformation, and the bloodthirsty impulses that accompanied it. As night approached once again, the warrior attempted to contain his curse through physical restraints, binding himself with iron chains blessed by the shamans and secured to the strongest oak beam in his dwelling. His wife and child fled to her brother's home for safety, leaving him alone to face whatever darkness the moon might bring. The metal links groaned under supernatural strength as his transformation began anew, but the blessed iron held fast, preventing him from escaping to hunt among his people once more. Fourth, sacred rituals and desperate measures. The tribal shamans convened an emergency council within their sacred grove. A circle of ancient standing stones covered in runic inscriptions that had protected their people for countless generations. These spiritual leaders wore elaborate headdresses crafted from wolf skulls and raven feathers, their faces painted with sacred symbols in charcoal and clay. They burned offerings of mistletoe and rowan wood while consulting ancient scrolls that detailed the rituals necessary to combat supernatural threats. The air, thick with aromatic smoke, carried their chanted prayers to the old gods, seeking divine intervention against the werewolf curse. According to their most ancient texts, written in blood ink on treated animal hides, the curse could only be broken through one of three methods. The afflicted individual could be slain with weapons, forged from silver mined from sacred mountains and blessed under 13 full moons. Alternatively, the werewolf could be captured during transformation and burned alive with fires kindled from wood taken from trees struck by lightning. The third and most dangerous option involved performing a ritual transference that would move the curse to a willing volunteer who might better resist its corrupting influence. The village blacksmith worked day and night at his forge, melting down precious silver ornaments and ceremonial objects to craft weapons capable of harming the supernatural creature. His leather apron was stained with sweat and soot as he hammered molten metal into spear points and arrowheads, each one inscribed with protective runes while still glowing hot. The shamans blessed each weapon with sacred oils and chanted incantations, imbuing them with spiritual power that would allow mortal steel to wound an immortal beast and perhaps free their kinsman from his terrible affliction. Meanwhile, the women of the tribe gathered protective herbs from the deepest parts of the forest, risking encounters with the werewolf to collect wolfsbane, wild garlic, and rowan berries that could provide some defense against supernatural attack. They wove these plants into wreaths and amulets, hanging them from doorways and around the necks of children and elderly villagers who were most vulnerable to the creature's predations. Every dwelling was surrounded by circles of salt mixed with iron filings, creating barriers that folklore claimed could confuse and repel shape-shifting demons. The most experienced hunters in the tribe organized themselves into a specialized pack, armed with the newly forged silver weapons and protected by the shaman's most powerful blessing rituals. These brave warriors painted their faces with wolf blood and bear grease, adopting the spiritual aspects of their prey to better understand its behavior and weaknesses. They studied the creature's hunting patterns, learning to predict where it might strike next and positioning themselves to intercept the werewolf during its nocturnal rampages while protecting innocent villagers from its supernatural hunger. Fifth, the final blood moon confrontation. On the night of the blood moon, when the celestial orb hung like a crimson eye above the forest canopy, the cursed warrior made his final decision to end the cycle of violence that had consumed his life. He could no longer bear the weight of innocent blood on his hands, or the fear in his wife's eyes when she looked upon him. Breaking free from his iron restraints through sheer supernatural strength, he strode naked into the settlement's central square, where the entire tribe had gathered for the confrontation they all knew was inevitable. The shamans stood ready with their sacred fires burning bright, while the hunters formed a protective circle around the women and children who had taken refuge in the chief's longhouse. Silver-tipped spears glinted in the moonlight as the warriors awaited the transformation that would reveal their enemy's true nature. The cursed man raised his face to the blood moon and spoke his final words as a human being, confessing his terrible secret and begging forgiveness from the spirits of his victims before surrendering himself to the beast within. The transformation unfolded before their horrified eyes as flesh and bone reshaped themselves according to supernatural will. The werewolf that emerged stood taller and more terrible than any creature from their darkest legends. Its massive frame rippling with muscles beneath midnight black fur. Its eyes burned like captured stars, while saliva dripped from fangs longer than hunting knives. The beast's howl echoed through the forest, calling to ancient powers that had slumbered since the world's youth, and announcing the beginning of a battle that would determine the fate of the entire settlement. The hunters struck first with their blessed silver weapons, their spear points finding their mark despite the creature's supernatural speed and agility. Each wound sent liquid fire coursing through the werewolf's body, causing it to stumble and roar in agony, while black blood flowed from silver-burned flesh. The shamans advanced with their sacred torches, driving the wounded beast toward the ceremonial pyre they had prepared in the square's center. Flames leaped higher as the creature's supernatural hide caught fire, filling the air with the stench of burning fur and flesh. In its final moments, as the silver poison and sacred flames consumed its supernatural form, the werewolf's burning eyes reflected not hatred but profound gratitude toward those who had freed it from its cursed existence. The transformation reversed one last time, revealing the warrior's human face within the flames as his spirit was finally released from its lupin prison. The tribe watched in solemn silence as their kinsman's body crumbled to ash, carrying with it the ancient curse that had plagued their bloodline for generations uncounted. Thus ends the tale of ancient Germania's most terrible curse, where a warrior's transgression against sacred law transformed him into the very beast he had sworn to protect his people from. This haunting legend reminds us that even in our distant past, humanity grappled with the thin line between civilization and savagery, between the man and the monster that lurks within us all. The werewolf's story serves as both warning and tragedy, showing how quickly honor can become horror when sacred boundaries are crossed. If this dark tale from the Germanic forests has captivated your imagination, please support Tales Labyrinth by liking this video, sharing your thoughts in the comments below, and subscribing for more mysterious legends from history's shadows. Join our community of fellow history enthusiasts as we continue exploring the ancient world's most fascinating and terrifying stories.